Hello, everybody. Welcome to End Times Talk. Good afternoon. I hope you're all doing well. I'm going to jump right into the information here. Pull up the screen here and make it a little bigger for you. So, yesterday, Iran was struck by the U.S. after the Iranian Guard Corps got caught laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. The strikes took place in Badr Abbas, home to a key Iranian base, and they're saying missile launch sites were also blasted and bombed. And Fox is reporting this is not an end of the ceasefire as of right now. That's strange to me. They're laying mines. We bombed them, but there's still a ceasefire. That doesn't seem like a ceasefire to me. Like I feel like they think we're stupid to believe something like that. Um, I don't think there ever really was a ceasefire. This is just semantics. It's just a game they're playing. It really is. It's just a game they're playing. And it's a lot of it is towards the public. It's not really so much them playing a game with each other. It's them playing games with the minds of the public. In this is all psychological operations, just the way that it's all being handled and done. I truly believe that their intentions are malicious, to say the least. Um, so I'm gonna just go ahead and play this clip right here for everybody.
Were heard in the border city of Bandar Abbas. That's home to a key Iranian naval and air base along the strait. Iranian state media also reporting explosions in other cities as well. The attacks coming as intense discussions are underway tonight to end the war in Iran, but a deal is not in place. Iran's top security official declaring tonight, quote, "There will be no retreat." And there's this from President Trump.
These incredible men and women gave their lives to ensure that the world's #1 state sponsor of terror will never have a nuclear weapon. Oh, and they won't.
We're heard in the
So one of the big stipulations of this end of the war is that Iran gives up their fiscal nuclear material, all right, and everything that they have to do with it, over, and it all be destroyed. And Iran won't do it. Iran came out and said, and I read it to you yesterday. Iran came out and said that they don't agree. There's no deal that's been agreed to, and I read you the thing yesterday with a statement that they had put out. And for some reason, again, our government is lying to us when this is supposed to be the most Boy Scout honest administration we've ever seen, right? But we just keep getting lied to, and it's ring around the rosy constantly. And so anyways, I wanted to add this to today's show at the beginning because it's not the main thing I'm going to talk about today, but it's shows the progression of where we're at, with this whole oil crisis and the food shock and all that stuff that's in fertilizer and farming and all this stuff that's going to come from this, the hardships that are going to come from this happening. Nothing has stopped. Nothing has gotten better. Nothing has ended, and I'm just kind of giving that update as of this part in the video here. So now the US is tightening travel restrictions, and I'm just going to go ahead and play the video here for everybody. Let me fast forward or rewind it here.
The growing Ebola outbreak in Africa. More than 900 cases reported in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, with more than 115 deaths. The U.S. is expanding travel restrictions this morning as health officials in Africa warn 10 other countries of an elevated transmission risk. So let's bring in emergency room physician and ABC News medical correspondent Dr. Darian Sutton with more. Okay, Dr. Darian, so we know these cases are rising. What are health officials doing here in the United States to make sure this virus does not spread by air travel here at home?
And added layers of protection here. So So when we talk about air travel and the restrictions that are in place, right now the CDC has said all non-U.S. citizens are effectively barred if you travel to these key areas of concern. And for American citizens who have traveled to areas including Uganda, South Sudan, and the Democratic Republic of Congo within the past 21 days, remember that's how long it can take to develop symptoms after exposed to Ebola. You have to go through, or your flights are funneled through either Atlanta, Washington, D.C., or Houston. There you'll be screened. And if you pass that screening, you're effectively allowed to go home and your local health department will follow up. Now, the overall risk to the United States remains low. If we remember from 2014, an incredibly large outbreak, only 4 Americans contracted the virus inside the United States. But this current outbreak seems to be spreading at a faster pace.
Yeah, and so remind us of some of the basics here. I mean, how contagious is Ebola and how does it actually, transfer from person to person?
Well, the contagiousness of Ebola really comes into when you come into direct contact with the bodily fluids.
And that's something that I keep hearing over and over again with every single article, every single news clip, every single statement is they say that Ebola, it's not that contagious. It takes direct contact. I mean, there's a lot of different variables to that. And even some scientists and doctors and things like that, and people who are epidemiologists and, different things like that, they will tell you that there's always that chance where someone sneezes and gets it on somebody in a situation that there's always those slight variables. And if this is something that is gain of function, if this something is that has been made in a lab, all right, it could mutate. It could be primed to mutate, and become, contagious by droplet. Or what if it's they were already mutating it? It just doesn't feel like we're being told the truth, because when the news is repeating the same things over and over and over and over again, it's like they're really trying to drive something home. And with as fast as this thing is spreading, and how many numbers are involved, and I truly believe myself that the numbers are way greater than what they're saying. I think that, kind of like with earthquakes, we watch an earthquake happen that we'll say is a 6.0, and all of a sudden it's downgraded to a 5.7. All right, like initially we always see the earthquake register as this, but then the government always plays it down a few degrees. So it's like, yesterday I was reading and I got, I can't remember what article it was, but they were saying over 1,000 people already, and now it's over 900. And I've noticed this little bouncing back and forth when, you go and you dig and you can find greater numbers where greater numbers are being reported, but some places are reporting older numbers. And so I don't believe that these people are reporting the specific numbers. And this was from last night anyways. But so the point is, though, is that even as they're speaking in any engagement, talking about this situation, the numbers are continuing to rise. We haven't seen anything plateau yet. It's just almost a moonshot with the cases. And again, people are fleeing the DRC. There are people that there's been 2 attacks on 2 separate, Ebola treatment centers, and they've been firebombed. And there was, I think it was either 13 or 18 people from one facility fled, and a whole bunch of them still haven't been found. And then at the other facility, there were 6 people that escaped, and supposedly they were all located. We'll say supposedly. But, it's complete tyranny in these situations, and people don't like, who likes to be in jail, especially when you didn't do nothing wrong. And so these kind of medical measures, and boy, the medical system, just leave it to them to make you feel right at home, right? But it's like, I could see how some people that are being treated for Ebola could feel like, oh man, the man's keeping me down, I got to stick it to the man, I'm just saying that as an American, kind of how we say in America, stick it to the man. But what I'm saying is that they might be anti-government, they might be anti-medical system. There's a lot of people in America that are. And so, those people, when they flee, they might not want to return. And if they have Ebola, well, they're like, well, I know how they've been taking care of me. I'll just take care of me and I'll live or I die. I'm sick of their, mumbo jumbo. I'm not okaying them fleeing and running off into the woods or getting other people sick or anything like that and spreading this. What I am saying is, though, is I see the mentality that could keep someone away and not want to come back to one of these Ebola treatment centers is what I'm trying to say. All right. And so, with that being said, there's people that have escaped. There's people that are fleeing the area, and then they spread out. And how far do they go? We don't know. Even on foot, even on a bicycle, even in a car, you can get pretty far. You can get into other countries. There's plenty of other countries that are over there, that I believe already have this in it. They keep saying the South Sudan, but there's supposedly no confirmed cases in Sudan. And I've tried to research it. They won't even tell you if there is, probable or suspected cases in South Sudan. They just say there's nothing, right? But yet they're stopping public get-togethers and all that stuff in the South Sudan. I showed you that the last live that I did. So it went from, okay, it's in the DRC, all right. Oh, but we brought 2 people in to Uganda that had it or whatever, and then it was 2, but then now in Uganda it's 7. Yesterday it was 5. Then I showed you where they released it and there was 2 more. So now there's 7 in Uganda. See how it's growing little by little? And even the healthcare workers, I don't know what it is about this thing, hyper contagious, but even the healthcare workers are getting sick, messing with these patients, and they're the ones that are trained to do it. That God, I gotta say too, God bless the actual true healthcare workers that are out there that truly care about their patients and aren't just trying to be part of this tyrannical system that the way the medical field is now. But there are true people out there that truly care, and you're so brave to face this invisible enemy called Ebola in those situations. Like people that go into these places, like that doctor that contracted Ebola, but his family's okay, supposedly, is what I heard. You know what I mean? It shows me that it's like, wow, there are people that have some insane bravery to go and face this and even possibly contract it, knowing, and just trying to help people. That I just got to put that out there. But again, the doctors, the nurses, they can spread things from patient to patient. If one patient didn't have it, they are around others that could have it, even if they're a suspected case. And then there's this back and forth between patients, and it can spread even in those places. And so there's a lot of variables. But again, as I've been watching this unfold, it just is continuing to spiral out of control. And so I'm going to go on to the next thing here. And this is where I think my point starts to get proven a little bit more. I'm just going to go ahead and play this clip here. Hold on.
Yeah, good morning to you, Mary. It's only been 1 week since the World Health Organization declared Ebola a global public health emergency, and already officials are admitting that this outbreak is spreading faster than they can contain it, which is why several countries now, including the U.S., are tightening their travel restrictions. Americans who are coming in from affected areas can only enter this country through airports here in Atlanta, in Dallas, in Virginia, and also starting today, Bush Airport in Houston. And they're required to undergo enhanced screenings, including temperature checks. Meanwhile, if you're a non-citizen, you're banned from coming into this country at all if you've been into those impacted areas in the last 3 weeks. That's because this virus is raging. Doctors now suspect nearly 900 infections, primarily in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Another 200 people are also suspected to have died from this virus. At least 10 African nations now being warned that they have an elevated transmission risk. With the FIFA World Cup just less than 3 weeks ago.
You hear that? Over 10, 10, we'll just say 10. I don't want to say over, but 10 nations are already warning their people of transmission risk. And this is a great point that she's bringing up. The FIFA World Cup is coming to town. There ain't no Santa Claus coming to town. I'm going to tell you that. FIFA World Cup is coming to town all over the United States. And we're going to talk about that here in a moment because, while, I've noticed as I've been trying to warn about this Ebola stuff because of this hantavirus thing that happened, which is spreading as well. With this hantavirus thing that happened, people just kind of making a joke out of everything, not taking anything serious, not thinking that any of this can happen again. And it's super ignorant. It's like super ignorant. Now, we're not saying that this is going to happen. We don't want it to happen. We're praying that it doesn't happen. But paying attention to what's going on gives us a heads up, helps us to make proper life decisions as to how we're going to handle things that we're facing in the future, whether it be or whether it not be, right? So that's what we're trying to do here on this channel. But I notice, and I could care less, but these kind of videos get less views, but I appreciate the people who do care about what's going on around them. I really do. Like the people that come here and watch these videos and stick with things, when we're talking about some of the same subjects, but we're, talking about updates. These are all updates, but we're kind of staying on this path here because this looks like something that could really lead us to Agenda 2030. That's why I'm kind of looking at these scenarios here, like, okay, this war with Iran and the oil crisis and, all this pestilence that's happening between Hanta and Ebola. It's weird to say the least. And it's been a long time since we've seen, we're going to travel restrictions. Here we go. And then we're tightening travel restrictions. And then more nations are being warned. All right. Come on, people. Come on. Like, you don't see the writing on the wall, what's brewing right now. We better start praying and taking this thing seriously. Everything's a joke until it's not a joke no more. I remember when I was trying to warn people about coronavirus. Well, it was coronavirus once it first started, and then they changed it to COVID-19. But I was warning people about coronavirus. I was saying, dude, this thing's coming. I didn't have a channel yet at that time. I was on Facebook, and I was a part of quite a few groups. And me and a buddy, we had some evidence, we'll say, that we were trying to relay to people. And they're just like, oh, you're a fear monger. Nothing's coming. Nothing's happening. Blah, blah, blah. And, because there's been a few, we'll call it, where the government's kind of punked the people out. Like, oh, could this be it? Could this be the next pandemic? Boom. No, it's not. You know what I'm saying? And they keep doing that and doing that and doing that up until they finally pull the trigger. And then everybody lays their guard down. It's the perfect scenario for them. You know what I mean? And so that's why I look at every single one like, could this be it? Because I know for a fact, I don't know about today, and I don't know about tomorrow, but I do absolutely 110% know that they're planning another pandemic sometime in some way with some virus or sickness or frequency or chip or technology, whatever they're going to do. All right, however they're going to make it look, whatever they're going to say it is, they will use something along these lines to bring us about to Agenda 2030. I truly believe it. And people keep acting like it can't happen. It's like, again, we get into that Titanic syndrome where we are acting like God himself couldn't sink the Titanic, and all that pride, where, sitting there saying God himself couldn't sink this ship. Oh, it's sinking. All right. Stick a fork in us. We're done. All right. It's just a matter of time now. How much longer do we have left until chaos hits is really the question. Because we know it's coming. We know the sins of America. We know the sins of the world are a rotten stench that has drifted up to heaven to the nostrils of God. And he's sick of smelling the nastiness of the world. All right. And so, and he wants to also bring people back to him. So he's going to allow certain things to take place. I wouldn't say it's judgment, maybe selective judgment, but I don't even know about that. More of a chastisement that God is correcting humanity to come back to him. All right. So I'm just putting that out there as well. I'm going to continue on with this here.
or 3 weeks away rather, fears were growing that the virus could spread beyond just Central Africa, which is why the White House is now warning the Congolese soccer team, which is currently in Belgium, that their players could be denied entry into the U.S. if they return to their home country before the FIFA matches begin here on June 11th. But George, despite
I'm going to tell you right now, that is not what's going on. And I looked into it. All right. There is nothing that's keeping these guys from coming to the country. They are in Belgium right now, but on June 11th, the Congolese team is going to be here. All right. And I did some research. All right. And I found out that there's there's 26 players on the Congolese team. Okay. But they also have a lot of other people that travel with them when it comes to technical coaching staff and like medical staff, and things like that, and even special guests that come with them. There's anywhere from 45 to 65 people in total that travel with the DRC team, okay, with the Congolese team from that area. And here's the thing. There's a lot of travel that is about to take place, all right, for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And they're saying right now, their estimates, and this is a very broad estimate, all right, is that they're saying anywhere from around 5 to 7, listen to this, million international travelers are expected to visit the United States in the next 3 weeks. Are you listening, America? Are you awake yet? Are you waking up yet? We have an outbreak that's super serious that is happening. They've literally admitted they don't have it under control. I just showed you that. They literally say this thing is far spread and it is out of their grasp to contain, and it is It is spreading faster than they can contain it. And we have 5 to 7 million international travelers that are expected to visit the United States in the next 3 weeks, starting in the next 3 weeks or so, maybe 4 weeks. All right. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection and State Department have publicly referenced 5 to 7 million international travelers are expected to enter the U.S. for the tournament for the FIFA World Cup. So if that's not something to be concerned about, I don't know what you would be concerned about. Maybe a speeding meteor that is, hurling towards the earth that's guaranteed to hit. All right, I'm telling you that this thing, there's over 1,000 people suspected, over 250 people that are dead from this, and there's people fleeing the DRC area into other countries around them. And these other countries, those people get around, they come into contact. And so give it, 21 more days. Again, if people are going out and they're getting other people sick, it takes 21 days, can take 21 days to incubate Ebola. All right. And it I'll be honest with you, people can go ahead and think I'm crazy here, and I don't really care. All right. But I'm sorry, but have you ever seen the movie The Perfect Storm? Has anybody here, raise your hand in the live chat if you've seen the movie The Perfect Storm? I'd like to know how many people have seen The Perfect Storm. Because right now, if you really look at everything that's happened and happening and what's set to take place, this is a perfect storm in my eyes for another pandemic lockdown scenario. It's just, here's the thing. It's scary as hell, okay, because it's Ebola, all right? It's scary as hell, and especially, the thing is that, how do I say this? They're saying that there's 5 to 7 million international travelers, but, all right, including domestic people that are all kind of converging in these areas, because there's 11 U.S. host cities. There is 11 cities that are set to host the FIFA World Cup. And obviously Americans are even going to be traveling between cities for different matches. So they're saying altogether, everything that's brewing across the nation, there's going to be 10 million people, domestic plus international. I mean, that is a lot of people commingling at a time where they got travel restrictions to multiple countries right now, can't come into the U.S. I mean, I'll be honest with you. You know, it's a serious situation, man. Serious situation. And I don't think people are taking it seriously enough. That's just my opinion. It's okay if people don't want to stand with me on that. But I think keeping a really close eye on this thing is important. And I think having a acceleration of information like we're kind of have right now, and we're trying to keep it at the forefront of this thing, I think that kind of information can save lives. What if it does spread? I mean, I forget the dude's name. John Campbell or whatever, that dude that talks about viruses on YouTube or whatever. I don't usually, reference other YouTubes, but he's pretty accurate, you know what I mean? But what if he's wrong one time? I mean, he usually always plays things down. Great, you know what I mean? But there is a lot of new information that is coming out about this thing, and he might not have all that information, because unless you're really paying attention to what they're all saying, you don't really know exactly what's going on. I mean, it's been, I'll be honest with you, civil unrest in the DRC is the way I've kind of seen it. Multiple places that are treating Ebola firebombed. I mean, supposedly there was protesters and all this different stuff, and people are rioting because they can't get the bodies of their loved ones and all this stuff. I mean, that's insane. All right. So that's important. Now, moving on, and I do want to say this, okay, before I move on with today's show, okay, is that if you have children around or anything like that, I'm going to ask that you turn the channel off. The reason being is because we're going to be talking about the S word here, adult stuff, okay, because this is an important aspect to what's going on right now. All right. Now, again, I want to make very clear, and again, shut off the channel right now, because in like a couple of seconds, I'm about to say something. I want to make very clear that people are well aware, all right, that Ebola stays in male sperm, okay, up to a few years, all right? So even if someone's like contracted it and they get better, it can stay in their sperm, okay? If someone contracts it, all right, isn't symptomatic, their sperm is still contagious, obviously, all right? Now, with that being said, okay, they're saying that the World Cup, all right, is famously associated with a massive spike in condom activity. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because I want you to get a picture here, all right? They're saying that in Brazil in 2014, all right, they had World Cup themed condoms, all right, and they sold over 2.1 million units, which is 700,000 3-packs in just a few months leading into the tournament. And they're saying that sales in Brazil rose 25% now. So promiscuity can spread this thing, is what I'm saying. This is where I'm trying to go with this, so that way people are aware. Okay. In South Africa, in 2010, there were plans for over 1 billion condoms nationally to be supplied, all right, to cover fans, locals, and in South Africa, there was over 40,000 sex workers that were brought in. So all right, so and they say trafficking during like the Super Bowl and the World Cup and the Olympics is pretty high. Those are the times where human trafficking is pretty high. All right. And they're saying that in Toronto alone for the 2026 World Cup, all right, that Toronto alone plans to distribute over 500,000 of themed World Cup condoms, all right, and there's other stuff attached to this that I'm just not going to say. It's too uncomfortable to say. This is uncomfortable enough for me as it is, but we're adults here, right? So I want to make sure people are aware that even though that Toronto is going to have over 500,000 of these, okay, the United States has no large-scale, centralized, or any condom distribution programs at all that have been publicly announced by any U.S. city of the 11 U.S. cities, okay, as of today's date. And, you know, they're talking about it, you know what I mean, things like that. But it's like they've completely left everything out that, you know, they use to, you know, cover these bases. So promiscuity is at an all-time high at these sort of events, and that means that if Ebola does somehow creep in and people are running around doing this stuff in multiple cities, because I mean, you know, if there's a sex worker that goes, you know, to one city, they're going to be probably taken by their pimp or whatever, or trafficker, to all of these cities and be used at maximum that they can be used. It's horrible. It's evil. But this is what's going on. All right. And I don't think people are taking that into account. And so, relatively, there is nothing that America is doing to ready any of this stuff, or even though people are going to be that way, and whether they do or whether they don't, they're going to choose to do what they're going to choose to do. But there's nothing. I mean, yeah, they'll probably bring in that stuff, but there's nothing that's promoting it to where, like, there's, like, you know, because people are going to do what people are going to do. Might as well be safe if you're going to do it. You know what I mean? Just being honest with you. Like, I'm not promoting that promiscuity. I'm just saying, in reality, you know, I mean, you know, come on. All right. So they're also saying, again, like it said earlier, ESPN Andrew Giuliani, there's Andrew Giuliani saying the Congo team must isolate or they're not going to be allowed to be in the World Cup. All right. And then another article, DRC World Cup squad ordered to isolate before entry to U.S. due to Ebola outbreak. And the DRC insists there will be no change to schedule. Team's first game is on the 17th of June here in America, but they're going to be in America, they're saying, on the 11th. On the 11th. So supposedly none of these people have went and visited their families. Every single of these 26, famous soccer players that are probably rich and have the money to fly around at will whenever for, I guess, the past 21 days have not been home, and they've been in Belgium. You know, I don't really believe it. You know what I mean? I don't believe nothing they say. Once it happens and nothing happens, then okay, all right, I believe them. You know what I mean? But until then, I don't trust nothing that they're telling us. Right? That's just my opinion. You know, I'm not trying to, get people riled up or nothing like that. But I'm just going to share the way I'm looking at it. So anyways, yeah, they're going to be across 11 U.S. cities. Now, on another note, hold on, I'll bring this up here. The World Health Organization has confirmed the registration of 149 new cases of hantavirus. And they're saying that the mortality rate for this virus is 40%, while the mortality rate for COVID-19 did not exceed 1%. This is extremely serious for the markets, they're saying. So I'll just play this right here.
Given the incubation period of the Andes virus, which can be up to 6 weeks, it's possible that more cases may be reported. While this is a serious incident, WHO assesses the public health risk as low. It also shows why the international health regulations exist and how they work. WHO is working with multiple governments and partners on the response under those regulations. Our priorities are to ensure the affected patients receive care, that the remaining passengers on the ship are kept safe and treated with dignity, and to prevent any further spread of the virus. Given the incubation period of the Andes virus, which can be up to 6
So yeah, I mean, it looks like it's more people on the ship that have come down with the virus. All right, but I'm just putting it out there, that hantavirus, there's other people that are getting it. So it's not like that. Honestly, hantavirus isn't even really so much on my radar. I just want people to have that update. I really am more concerned about Ebola, far more concerned about Ebola than I am hantavirus. Hantavirus does have a longer incubation period, though. So I'm not going to play the video because the person cusses like a sailor. And there's like a bunch of F-bombs and stuff, but I'm gonna show a picture here. So I'm gonna show you this blown up here. Let me make sure it's as big as you can see it here. So this right here, I forgot what this was. They're saying that this was a grain of salt. And they're saying this right here is the tick. That is a tick right there. And that's how small some of these ticks are. And let me make sure you're seeing this here. They're saying that the tick range, from the south and all that stuff is kind of completely taken over half of the United States this year. I mean, I've never seen such a bad tick year, and is it all 4 alpha-gal syndrome, which makes you allergic to red meat, or is it about Lyme disease? What are they trying to spread? Is it something new? I don't know, but I do know that people are getting really sick, getting bit. And I've heard a lot of it from a lot of people. So make sure, what I heard is you buy a bag of sulfur. You can also use like soil, like stuff to make the soil acidic, I think, as well, but because it has sulfur in it. But you take sulfur and I guess you put it in a sock, and I guess you smack it on your pant legs and your boots and that stuff. Your legs. You don't really want it on your skin, they say, but I guess when you do that, it will keep ticks off of you, that they run from that stuff. So just, giving you that. That's what I've heard supposedly works. And a few different oils, but some of those oils are pretty toxic, like neem oil. Neem oil is pretty toxic. It's not that great for you. You know what I mean? To be putting on your skin or anything like that, or making spray out of, or anything like that. But that, so there is things that you can do, but just be careful in what you're doing. Now, on a side note, I wanted to show this. I guess they're going to finally start looking into and investigating Roblox, or they're wanting them to, but I guess they're saying that these child safety groups, and this is on Zero Hedge that's reporting this, are filing complaints against online interactive gaming platform Roblox with the Federal Trade Commission on May 20th, alleging that children face sexual and financial harm on the platform, and they do all the time. It's almost like, I don't want to believe this, but it's almost like Roblox was built by predators for predators, is what it almost seems like, and it's like they have worked to protect the abusers and these people who are evil, while even like people like that one kid, I forget his name. I think it's like Schlep, SCHEL or SCHLEP, Schlep. And I guess like this kid was busting pedophiles and getting them arrested. I guess there was 6 arrests, and then Roblox banned him, instead of banning these dudes that are out there targeting children. So it just, I don't know. It's nice to see them trying to hold Roblox's feet to the fire, and I wanted to put that out there real quick because what I'm going to show you next is shocking to say the least. I mean, it's some people are going to be like, oh well, I already knew that and blah blah blah, but I really feel like people need to see that. And the Tim Tebow Foundation and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children put this out there, but they're saying that each of these red dots right here represents an IP address, whether it be a fake IP address or whatever, but a person that has downloaded or is sharing child exploitive material in the last 30 days. In the last 30 days. That's not any within this last year. That's within the last 30 days. And I mean, you have some pockets here where there's not a lot going on. I don't know if that's because of connectivity issues or certain laws that are in place that are keeping pedophiles from behaving the way that they are, or if it's too barren and there's just not a lot of people that live out here. But especially Nevada, I mean, good for you, Nevada, not having as many pedophiles. And believe it or not, Oregon is very barren of pedophiles. They're mainly in the Northwest. But I mean, there's the in-betweens here, but it's like the entire East Coast. And I know the population is much greater on the East Coast. The population isn't as much in the further half west end of America if you cut America in half. So it makes sense that there'd be more over here. But you look at that banding, I mean, like, goodness gracious, dude. Like, these are layers. I mean, you see like little slivers of circles and things like that. Like, they're so layered. Like, this is a problem. This is a problem. And this is why this channel fights against this stuff when I make documentaries exposing different networks that are enabling this sort of behavior and avenues for the elite to do what they're doing. You got to expose it, bring it to light. And so that way people are educated and aware. And these places, when people are around, you know, they can't get away with things the way that they once could, because we keep throwing monkey wrenches into their spokes, you know, and keep causing them to flip over their handlebars, you know. And that's what we want to do ultimately. And then there's other groups that are out there, you know, they're I wouldn't say it's catfishing, but baiting abusers in through the internet. You know, they have like bait people that go in and act like they're, you know, a youngster or whatever, and catfish and are trying to fish and see where these predators are, and they get these people arrested and stuff. Some of them get beat up. I'm not going to lie. Some of them get beat up. But, you know, there's a lot of this going on. They say America is the #1 producer and consumer for child exploitive material. And so this is a real issue. And so this is why I'm fighting it, because one person's got to do something. You know what I mean? If I can affect, you know, the state of Michigan is where I live, and it's right smack dab in the middle of all this. You know what I mean? And I can attest that, you know, in the documentaries I've made 3 of them now, 2 of them on one place because there's a part 1 and a part 2. But I mean, it's insane knowing what I know about Grand Rapids now, knowing what I know about this other island. I mean, it's everywhere. It's almost like it's every single city. There is networks operating, but how do you root them out is the problem. And, you know, I was even contacted by, and I don't know how old they are, but I was contacted by somebody that, you know, wants to begin to investigate, you know, as much as they can, you know what I mean? And wants to know how to do so. And I'm going to do my best to help them, and we'll see where it goes. But, you know, it's nice to see people have a fire to want to stand against this, because this right here, this whole map right here and the way that this looks, this is a massive issue that needs to be handled. So, you know, I just, you know, wanted to at least end the show with that today. I don't have a whole lot to say today. I actually have a lot to do around the house today, and I got a few other things going on. And then I have some work to do on the documentary today, which the documentary, I've finished the intro, and now I'm working on the first part of the documentary. It's almost complete, and then I'm going to be working on the second part. And so I believe that, you know, things are going to start to move into getting things edited and stuff. There's still some research that has to be done, and some loose ends need to be tied up, but things are moving along, just so you know. And I'm not going to promise, but I'm hoping by the end of summer, I will have a documentary for you guys before fall starts. And then I have another documentary project that I'm working on. That's a secret project that's going to, I think, really blow people away. And it's something I don't think anybody else has done before. And I try to do that. I try to stay in my own lane, doing my own thing, and I don't want to focus on what everybody else is focusing on, what the trendy stuff is. I want to make a documentary that eventually, when people find out the truth, they're like, dude, this documentary came out, however long before this was really well known. You know what I mean? That sort of stuff. So, but anyways, I hope that you guys have a great day. I appreciate you guys coming to the live, and just please, just be careful. Just wash your hands. Don't be touching your face in the public. You know what I mean? And maybe hand sanitizer or something like that. I don't know, but there's things that you can do to prevent, getting sick and whatnot. So just be careful and be in prayer. Be focused on Jesus, man. Keep your eyes on Jesus. Keep worshiping him and allow him to keep you safe, and he will. He absolutely will. So I'm hopping off of here. I hope y'all have a great day, and may God bless you all. May he keep you. And please don't forget to go out and change this world in which you live.